What's really happening with André Rieu? Fans are stunned as new developments surface about the world-famous violinist and conductor. From surprising career twists to unexpected personal moments, this story dives deep into the latest updates that have everyone talking. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear might change the way you see André Rieu forever. In early 2024, André Rieu, the renowned Dutch violinist and conductor, faced an unexpected health issue that led to the abrupt cancellation of several concerts during his Mexico tour. Fans were taken aback when announcements were made about the cancellations, citing health concerns as the primary reason. Rieu returned to Maastricht to recuperate, emphasizing the importance of rest and acknowledging that the relentless pace of touring might have contributed to his condition. This incident wasn't the first time Rieu's health had impacted his performances. In 2012, he suffered from a viral infection that forced him to pause his activities for 3 months, leading to significant financial setbacks. However, with determination and support from his family, especially his wife Marjorie, he managed to bounce back, resuming his tours and regaining his financial stability. Rieu's resilience in the face of health challenges has been a testament to his dedication to music and his audience. Despite these setbacks, Rieu remains optimistic. He attributes his recovery and sustained energy to a positive mindset and a commitment to healthy living. Regular strength training and a balanced lifestyle have been integral to his routine, ensuring he remains fit for his demanding performance schedule. Rieu's unwavering spirit and passion for music continue to inspire fans worldwide, even as he navigates the challenges that come with age and a rigorous touring calendar. In the realm of viral classical music performances, few have left as many questions unanswered as André Rieu's stunning 1998 rendition of Love Theme from Romeo and Juliet. The sweeping waltz, performed with his Johann Strauss Orchestra, became an internet phenomenon years after its original performance, but not just because of the music. The spotlight eventually shifted to a woman, an elegantly dressed dancer whose identity remains one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in Rieu's fan community. She floated across the stage like a figure from another time, enchanting millions with her poise and presence. But when fans tried to find out who she was, they hit a dead end. The performance, uploaded to YouTube in the mid-2010s, has garnered over 20 million views. Still, there's no official credit, no mention of her name in concert notes, and no reference from Rieu himself in interviews. Fans took to Reddit and YouTube comments, throwing out theories. Some believed she was a German ballet dancer. Others suggested she was a local artist hired just for that performance. Despite all efforts, no one has definitively cracked the case. What made the speculation even stronger was how Rieu seemed to frame the performance. Lavish, emotionally charged, almost cinematic. The woman wasn't just a background dancer. She was the centerpiece of the entire arrangement. Her role felt intentional, even symbolic, which only deepened the audience's curiosity. Why feature someone so prominently and never mention her again? Theories flourished. Some suggested there had been a falling out behind the scenes. Others speculated that she may have left the performance world soon after. There's even a more dramatic theory, that she requested anonymity due to personal circumstances, possibly connected to health or family concerns. In the absence of any real answers, imagination took over. Interestingly, Rieu has remained completely silent on the matter, even when asked during fan Q&As or media appearances. Whether that silence is due to privacy concerns or just an oversight is anyone's guess. But the fact remains, fans want to know. In an era where celebrities are dissected online, this gap in Rieu's story only fuels more fascination. Some have taken a step further, using facial recognition tools to try and match her image with known performers from Rieu's previous tours. But nothing has turned up. It's as if she appeared for one brief, magical moment in musical history and then vanished. And perhaps that's the true beauty of it. In a career defined by precision and orchestral mastery, this moment of mystery adds a strangely human touch. It reminds fans that even in a world orchestrated to perfection, there's room for the unknown. But as strange as her disappearance was, the next chapter in Rieu's life would open up even deeper debates. This time, about his music itself. To his millions of fans, André Rieu is a genius, a man who brought classical music out of stuffy concert halls and into the hearts of everyday people. But not everyone sings his praises. In fact, within classical music circles, Rieu is one of the most polarizing figures of the 21st century. Depending on who you ask, he's either a brilliant populist or a shameless showman. Critics argue that Rieu's approach to classical music borders on sacrilege. His concerts, they say, are more Vegas than Vienna. From the opulent costumes and dramatic lighting to the carefully staged emotional swells, Rieu's shows are described by some as classical music for people who don't like classical music. The purists say he waters down the art form, turning it into spectacle over substance. And they don't hold back. Some claim his interpretations lack depth and emotional complexity. Others say he simplifies arrangements to appeal to a broader, less discerning audience. On classical music forums and Reddit threads, you'll find entire discussions dissecting whether Rieu's work should even be categorized as classical. One particularly harsh critic once referred to him as the musical equivalent of fast food. But Rieu's response? He simply doesn't care. In interviews, he's unapologetic. He insists that music should bring joy, and if people are leaving his concert smiling, then he's doing something right. "My concerts are about emotions," he once said, "not about intellectualism. If a piece of music moves you, that's enough." And judging by the crowds that fill his global tours, often spanning over 100 dates per year, millions agree with him. It's not just the public that side with him. Some music educators praise Rieu for making classical music more accessible to younger generations. Children who might never sit through a Mahler symphony are dancing to his version of the Blue Danube. To them, Rieu is a gateway, not a gatekeeper. Financially, his approach works. He ranks consistently among the world's highest-paid classical musicians. His concerts are sold-out spectacles. His recordings and DVDs outsell those of many symphony orchestras combined. He has turned Maastricht, his hometown, into a cultural hotspot, drawing hundreds of thousands of tourists every year for his open-air concerts. Yet the debate rages on. Some view Rieu as a disruptor, someone who dared to color outside the lines of a rigid, tradition-bound genre. Others see him as a marketer first and a musician second. But here's the reality. Whether loved or criticized, Rieu is talked about. In a genre that often struggles for mainstream relevance, that's no small feat. But just as the public divided over his music, they also became increasingly curious about the private life of the man behind the violin. For someone who spends most of his life in the spotlight, André Rieu is surprisingly private when it comes to his personal life. But one part of that world he's never hidden is his decades-long marriage to Marjorie Rieu, his wife, business partner, and the quiet powerhouse behind his global empire. They met in the 1970s, when Rieu was still a struggling musician without the lavish productions, ornate costumes, or massive fan base. Marjorie, a former teacher and classical scholar, believed in him long before the rest of the world caught on. She helped shape not only his confidence, but the very foundation of what would become the André Rieu brand. Unlike the glamorous, high-profile couple seen in the entertainment world, André and Marjorie keep a notably low profile. She rarely appears on stage or in public interviews, and yet her influence is everywhere. From strategic decisions about touring to managing financial risks and marketing direction, Marjorie has long acted as the brain behind the scenes, while Rieu remained the face in front of the orchestra. In interviews, Rieu often credits her with saving both his career and his sanity. When he nearly went bankrupt after a massive investment in stage production in the early 2000s, it was Marjorie who helped steady the ship. They doubled down on merchandising, revamped tour structures, and slowly climbed back into the black. Rieu has said that without her, he might have walked away from music altogether. Their relationship also breaks industry norms in another way. It's lasted. More than 45 years of marriage is rare in any field, let alone show business. And yet, to the highs of international fame and the lows of health scares and financial collapse, they've remained steady. Rieu describes their bond not in grand romantic cliches, but in terms of trust, partnership, and laughter. "We still make each other laugh," he said in a rare personal interview. That's the secret. Marjorie has also been a staunch defender of Rieu's artistic vision. When critics lash out at his theatrical style or accuse him of cheapening classical music, she doesn't flinch. In her view, Making people happy is a noble purpose, and one often lost in the elitism of traditional concert halls. Her grounded perspective has helped keep Rieu balanced through the years. Interestingly, despite their closeness, they live remarkably independently. In interviews, Rieu has admitted they even sleep in separate rooms. Not a discord, but simply because it works better for them. "We love each other deeply," he once said, "but we also give each other space." In a world fueled by fleeting fame and public scandal, André and Marjorie's story is refreshingly different. It's one of commitment, mutual respect, and unshakable support, a real partnership behind the glitz of global stardom. But even with a strong foundation at home, the question still lingers: what happens to André Rieu's legacy once he's gone? For decades, the name André Rieu has been practically inseparable from Maastricht. The Dutch city, once known primarily for its Roman ruins and medieval charm, transformed into an international cultural destination, thanks largely to one man and his violin. But now, as Rieu pushes into his mid-70s and recent health scares raise questions about longevity, fans and locals alike are asking, what happens when Rieu is no longer leading the waltz? It's not just about the concerts. Rieu's annual summer performances in the Vrijthof Square have become an institution. Each year, thousands of tourists flood the city. Hotels are booked out months in advance, and the local economy thrives. It's estimated that Rieu brings in over 25 million euros annually to Maastricht through tourism alone. Restaurants, shops, and tour operators time their peak seasons around his performances. But there's no clear plan for what happens next. Rieu has never announced an official successor, not even within his own family. While his two sons have been involved in his business operations to some extent, neither has shown signs of stepping into the spotlight as a performer. His orchestra, the Johann Strauss Orchestra, is a tightly knit group, but operates under a singular vision, his. Without Rieu at the helm, some fear the magic might fade. The idea of a Rieu-less Maastricht is unsettling for fans. Will the Vrijthof concerts continue in some form? Will his brand live on, or will it quietly wind down when the maestro takes his final bow? These questions are beginning to surface more often, not out of morbid curiosity, but genuine concern for a legacy that's touched millions. Cultural institutions in the city are starting to take notice. There's talk of creating a museum or musical archive dedicated to Rieu's life and impact. Some have even suggested turning his home or studio into a public heritage site, an homage to the man who changed the sound of Maastricht forever. But nothing official has been set in motion. Rieu himself remains vague about retirement. When asked in interviews, he usually laughs and says he plans to keep playing until I drop. And maybe he will. His energy on stage defies his age, and his love for performing hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. But behind that smile, the reality is setting in. No one plays forever. What's clear is that Rieu's influence has extended far beyond the music itself. He's redefined how classical music can be packaged, sold, and celebrated. He's turned waltzes into arena anthems. And he's created a blueprint that future musicians might try, but may never fully replicate. Still, not all of Rieu's legacy is celebratory. Some darker chapters are rarely discussed, like the financial collapse that almost ended it all before it began. Behind the velvet curtains and thunderous ovations, there was a moment when André Rieu came dangerously close to losing it all. Fans who only see the polished performances in sold-out arenas often have no idea how close the empire came to crumbling, and how one ambitious dream nearly turned into a personal and professional nightmare. It happened in 2008, at the peak of Rieu's global success. His concerts were in high demand, and his brand was expanding faster than ever. Eager to take things to the next level, Rieu decided to create the most elaborate stage production of his career, a full-scale replica of Empress Sisi's castle in Vienna, built as a mobile concert set. It was bold, theatrical, and in line with the philosophy of making classical music larger than life. But it was also, financially, a massive gamble. The castle cost millions to construct. It required special transportation across continents and a larger production crew than ever before. Rieu was so confident in the concept that he expanded his tour schedule to accommodate the spectacle, booking dozens of stadium shows across Europe and North America. It was supposed to be the crown jewel of his career. Instead, it almost ruined him. Ticket sales fell short. Logistics spiraled out of control. Transporting the massive set across oceans and borders proved far more complex and costly than anticipated. Rieu and his team scrambled to make things work, but cracks were starting to show. By early 2009, the financial strain had reached a breaking point. In an emotional interview years later, Rieu revealed that he was facing a crisis unlike anything he'd ever imagined. "I was deeply in debt," he admitted. "We had to cancel shows, and I felt like I had let everyone down." The once invincible showman was suddenly staring at the real possibility of bankruptcy. Suppliers needed payment. Crew members needed salaries. The business model was collapsing under its own weight. It was Marjorie, his wife and business strategist, who stepped in and helped stabilize the situation. Together, they restructured the business, scaled back operations, and worked tirelessly to rebuild their brand. Rieu stopped chasing spectacle for a while and focused on what had made his concert special in the first place: joy, intimacy, and emotional connection with the audience. The Empress Sisi project was eventually retired. Today, it's remembered by hardcore fans as both a symbol of ambition and a cautionary tale. Rieu, for his part, doesn't shy away from the memory. "I learned a lot," he later said, "about limits, about ego, and about coming back down to earth." In a way, that near collapse humanized him. It stripped away the glitter and reminded fans, and perhaps Rieu himself, that every empire has its fragile moments. But even after surviving the financial storm, a more subtle threat began to emerge. One that didn't involve money but trust. And it came from his own fan base. For years, André Rieu's fan base has been among the most devoted in the world. They follow him across continents, collect every DVD, and defend him against critics like family. But even in the most loyal communities, cracks can form. And for Rieu, those cracks appeared in a way no one saw coming. It began slowly, almost quietly. Around 2016, longtime followers started noticing subtle shifts in Rieu's performances. Some said the magic felt more mechanical. Others pointed out that the spontaneity, the laughs, the banter, the genuine warmth, seemed rehearsed. It felt like watching a recording of a memory. One fan posted in an online forum, "Still beautiful, but something's missing." Then came the set lists. More and more, concertgoers complained that Rieu was relying heavily on the same songs. The Second Waltz, Blue Danube, My Way, in city after city. What used to feel like a curated, unique event began to seem formulaic. Some fans began to ask, had the music become routine? Was the passion still there, or was it just business now? It didn't help that around the same time, ticket prices started climbing. While inflation and production costs were partly to blame, some fans accused Rieu's team of exploiting loyalty. Social media comments started piling up. "Too expensive for recycled content. He's not listening to the fans anymore. It's all about money now." To make things worse, a handful of fan meet and greet events were abruptly canceled or cut short. Rieu himself, once known for lingering after shows to shake hands and sign autographs, was suddenly more distant. Whether it was due to security concerns, health precautions, or just exhaustion, the result was the same. Fans felt the shift, and they didn't like it. A Facebook group titled, "Bring Back the Real André" popped up, gaining thousands of followers in just a few weeks. It wasn't vicious. These weren't haters. They were heartbroken. Many had followed him for decades. They just missed a man who once made every show feel like a personal gift. To his credit, Rieu responded. In a rare fan Q&A video, he acknowledged the criticism and explained that the pressures of large-scale touring had forced some logistical changes. He also reminded fans that his health was not what it once was, and that while his passion remained, his stamina had changed. That video helped, but it didn't erase the lingering tension. For the first time, Rieu wasn't just a beloved maestro. He was a man under pressure to live up to his own legend. Still, even amid disappointment, one thing remained clear. Fans cared enough to speak up. They weren't walking away. They were asking for something more real, more connected. Something Rieu had given them for decades. And just when fans began to wonder if the fire had burned out, a surprise collaboration reignited everything in the most unexpected way. Just when fans were starting to believe that André Rieu's best days were behind him, something unexpected happened, a collaboration that no one saw coming. It wasn't with another classical musician or a fellow violinist. It was with a name far outside his usual circle, and it changed everything. In 2021, during the tail end of the global lockdown era, whispers began circulating that Rieu was working with British pop soprano Katherine Jenkins. She was known for her classical crossover style, someone who could glide between opera and pop radio with ease. But the twist wasn't just in the pairing. It was in the song. Together, they reimagined You Raise Me Up, a track long associated with pop balladeer Josh Groban. The result was haunting, stripped back, and deeply emotional. Recorded in Rieu's home studio with a smaller ensemble, far removed from the grandiosity of his usual productions. The performance was later released as a live video, shot in an empty concert hall under soft lighting. Just Rieu, Jenkins, and a few accompanying musicians. No castles, no fireworks, just raw, quiet beauty. The reaction was instant. Within 48 hours of release, the video had racked up millions of views on YouTube. Fans flooded the comment sections with gratitude. "This is the Rieu I fell in love with." One wrote, "No spectacle, just soul." Music critics, many of whom had dismissed Rieu's style in the past, took notice, calling it his most emotionally vulnerable performance in years. But it wasn't just a musical moment. It was a symbolic one. For Rieu, it marked a return to something purer, a reminder that beyond a massive stage sets and glittering gowns, his true magic came from emotional connection. It re-energized his fan base, pulled in a younger audience unfamiliar with his earlier work, and even introduced him to fans of Jenkins who had never heard of the Waltz King. Following the song's success, Rieu leaned into the momentum. He announced a limited series of more intimate concerts, smaller venues, simpler staging, and more direct interaction with fans. They sold out in hours. He also began inviting surprise guest performers to each show, mixing genres and experimenting more than he had in years. It was a risk, but it worked. This creative resurgence didn't just revive his popularity, it reshaped it. Instead of fighting to maintain his old image, Rieu embraced evolution. He didn't abandon the grandeur that made him famous, but he no longer hid behind it. He let the music speak for itself again. For many, this comeback felt more meaningful than any award or chart-topping album. It proved that even after decades in industry and a fair share of criticism, André Rieu still had the power to surprise, to adapt, and to move people in ways that no stage set ever could. But while fans celebrated this return to form, one question still lingered behind the applause. Could his health keep up with this new wave of momentum? No matter how timeless he may seem on stage, André Rieu is not immune to the weight of time. And lately, fans have started to notice the signs. Quiet whispers turning into growing concern. Is the maestro finally starting to slow down? It began with subtle changes. Rieu's once exhaustive world tours, often stretching across dozens of countries in a single year, became more selective. In interviews, he began referencing the toll that travel takes, mentioning how rest and recovery now play a bigger role in his schedule. While he never directly said he was cutting back, fans paying close attention saw the writing on the wall. Then came the canceled shows. In late 2022, a wave of last-minute cancellations raised eyebrows. While official statements cited logistical issues or unforeseen circumstances, insiders claimed the reasons were more personal. One anonymous source close to the production team hinted that Rieu had been dealing with fatigue more intense than usual. "He's not the kind of man to complain," the source said, but it was clear he needed a rest. What really sent fans into a frenzy was a brief hospitalization rumor that surfaced in 2023. The details were vague and no official confirmation was ever made. But the story gained traction after Rieu disappeared from the public eye for nearly 2 months. No social media posts, no press, no performances, just silence. When he reappeared in early 2024, fans were relieved, but couldn't help noticing how different he looked. Thinner, quieter, still smiling, but a little more fragile, still charismatic, but a little more cautious. It wasn't dramatic, but it was noticeable. During a Dutch television appearance that spring, Rieu addressed the concerns directly. "I'm fine," he said, "but I'm also older. I have to listen to my body more now." He didn't elaborate, but the message was clear. The days of 200 concert years were behind him. Privately, those close to him say he's been spending more time at home in Maastricht. He's been spotted walking through the city gardens early in the morning, often alone or with his wife Marjorie. Locals say he seems at peace, less in a hurry, more present. Some even describe it as a kind of quiet farewell, though Rieu himself has never used that word. And yet, despite the growing signs of retreat, he continues to surprise. He's launched a new series of recordings with his orchestra, done entirely in his private studio, at his own pace. He's also been mentoring younger musicians behind the scenes, offering support to classical crossover artists who see him as a pioneer. So while the stage lights may not shine on him as often, Rieu isn't disappearing. He's simply shifting, slowing down, perhaps, but not stopping. Still, one final mystery has fans and critics alike buzzing. Because there's one part of Rieu's story that no one has been able to explain, and involve a long-lost recording that suddenly resurfaced after more than 30 years. In the world of André Rieu, surprises are never far away. But nothing has stirred as much curiosity and speculation as the recent discovery of a lost recording, hidden away for over 3 decades, that's now making waves among fans and music historians alike. The story begins in the early 1990s, when Rieu was still an emerging artist trying to carve out his place in the classical music scene. Before the Johann Strauss Orchestra's meteoric rise, he recorded a series of sessions that were experimental, raw, and unlike anything he's known for today. These tapes, thought to be lost or destroyed, were suddenly found in an old studio archive by a sound engineer cleaning out decades-old equipment. What makes this recording so fascinating isn't just its rarity, it's what's on it. Instead of the lush waltzes and grand orchestrations fans expect, the tracks reveal a much more vulnerable, unconventional side of Rieu. There are stripped-down violin solos, jazzy improvisations, and even a few spoken-word pieces where Rieu reflects on his dreams and doubts as a young musician. Fans have called a window into the soul behind the showman. Critics say it exposes a side of Rieu that's rarely seen. The artist grappled with his future, unsure of the path ahead, but determined to make music on his own terms. The tapes were released as part of a limited edition album titled Echoes Before the Waltz, sparking a surge of renewed interest in Rieu's early career. Music forums exploded with discussions about the depth and raw emotion captured in these recordings. Some longtime fans said it changed how they viewed his entire career, adding layers of complexity to the man they thought they knew. But the mystery deepens. Who exactly recorded these sessions with Rieu? Why were they shelved for so long? And what does Rieu himself think about this window into his past? In a recent interview, Rieu admitted he had almost forgotten about the tapes entirely. Those recordings were personal, he said. I wasn't ready to share them. It's strange and a little unsettling to hear a younger version of yourself speak out loud after all these years. He stopped short of revealing why they were hidden away for so long, leaving room for speculation. Some insiders suggest the recordings were considered too experimental or too vulnerable for the image Rieu was building at the time. Others believe they hold clues to a deeper creative restlessness that has driven him throughout his career. What's certain is this: the lost recording adds a new dimension to André Rieu's story. It reminds fans that behind the sparkling tuxedos and massive crowds, there's an artist who's always been evolving, sometimes struggling, but never content to stand still. As André Rieu's journey continues, balancing between legacy, health, and the ever-changing music landscape, one thing remains clear. The man behind the violin still has stories to tell and surprises waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into André Rieu's latest, don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates and stories that keep you in the loop. Hit the bell so you never miss a beat. See you in the next video.